Hello. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Where's Patrick? Patrick around? I recognized his voice was husky. I didn't realize he had gone in for an operation. I thought he had partied till 6 a.m. Anyway, welcome to World Digital. As Patrick would have probably said if his voice was okay, boom. All right, I'm going to be speaking about the same thing that Patrick spoke, which is the importance of Southeast Asia and why we should take advantage of the market there, and what is MDEC doing about this. So, as you heard, this is the fastest growing internet economy in the world. It's got 400 million internet users. It's far bigger than the size of the US. It's bigger than Europe. It's bigger than Africa. It's almost as big or half the size of China. So it is a very important market that we're looking at. And the strategy for us is to build global companies out of Malaysia. We are encouraging Malaysian companies or Malaysian-based companies to take advantage of ASEAN. So what we're saying is, make Malaysia your stepping stone into ASEAN and make ASEAN your stepping stone into the global markets. And with that, I would like to talk to you about one of the 4 key pillars that MDEC is championing, which is building local tech champions. Why does a country need local tech champions? Why does a country need big global players headquartered in the country? Big companies, big revenues, big profits, they drive higher revenue. The higher revenue, more exports, they drive more exports. And the exports will then balance off the deficit of imports. And so this is really important. Big companies drive innovation. Big companies drive talent. Big companies attract talent. Big companies pay more. And these all result in the ecosystem developing into an ecosystem that develops big, huge companies, that develops huge talent, that attracts foreign direct investment. So this is really important, a pillar for us. And how do we now carry on the strategy of building local tech champions? So at MDEC, we have a 2-pronged strategy. We have what we call GAIN, which is for the bigger scale-ups, and Titan for the startups, because we understand that whilst the pillars are the same, the skill sets needed to grow these companies are very different. For example, for a startup, the skill sets are very, very different from a scale-up. The way you do valuation for a startup is very different from the way you do valuation for a scale-up. The people who are interested in funding a startup are very different from the people who want to invest in a scale-up. So we've got a 2-pronged strategy, and we actually focus on 6 pillars. One is the market, where we have very specific market access or market immersion programs, and we start off in ASEAN. We have reskilling and upskilling of talent and workforce, and we have something that's quite new to the marketplace today, the last 3 years, is the mentorship program. It's pro bono mentorship that we have been able to round up. I've seen some of the mentors sitting here today, and it's like a pay-forward. It's a very Silicon Valley mindset. It's a pay-forward sort of mentorship, which is helping spur the ecosystem. But one of the key things that I personally found when I was running my own business was the Malaysian companies lack the branding, lack the visibility. When I say visibility is, we have really good products, we have really good talent, we have good entrepreneurs, but the region isn't seeing it. And when I came on board and we spoke to about 150 CEOs, I realized that these companies were doing some massive, impressive jobs, particularly as leaders in ASEAN, but nobody knew about them. They were operating it at below radar. And so the program now is about bringing these companies out, unsurfacing them, and bringing them out to the open. And we've seen a tremendous sort of traction that's taken place. If you read tech magazines now, whether it's in Malaysia or in Singapore or in ASEAN or in Asia, you will see a lot of Malaysian companies being mentioned. And this is what the ecosystem is beginning to do. Money, of course, is very important for scale-ups. Money is everywhere in the system. It's how do you pitch and get your company funded? Tomorrow we have on the sidelines of Wild Digital, we have a separate event for this, where we will see about 200 VCs or PEs sitting there with a combined value of US $5 billion, and they will be pitching or being pitched at. So that's some of the things that we're doing to change the ecosystem. 2 months ago, we partnered or we encouraged PCOM to undertake what we call Southeast Asia Dragons, where we invited VCs from the Silicon Valley, where we invited VCs from China, Taiwan, to come and listen to some of the Malaysian success stories, startup success stories. And we had a total of 35 VCs that flew down to KL, and we hope that this will be a yearly event. So these are some of the things that we're trying to do, or we're doing, to change the ecosystem. And of course, we have a lot of tech partners, the likes of AWS, the likes of Microsoft, the likes of Alibaba, who are here to support us, and support the companies, support the startups in sharing some of their tech knowledge. So with that, we hope to grow our revenues, we hope to grow our exports, we hope to see our Malaysian companies really doing very well in this region, and we're beginning to see the needle move. So what do we do? One of the things that we do is market access. The market access, if you want to get different results, we don't do the same thing, right? So we have changed the way we do market access. We call it market immersion. And what is a market immersion? A market immersion is going to a particular market, firstly, identifying the Malaysian diaspora, identifying the local partners, identifying who these new tech leaders are in each marketplace, getting a third-party research house, getting involved with the chambers, getting our companies shortlisted, not by MDEC, by a third-party research house, getting them matched by the third-party research house, and then we do the immersion. And we realized last year when we did the immersion into Indonesia, we raised a pipeline of 340 million, and the companies were able to close at least more than half of it, 181 million, in last year itself, which contributed to our additional export sales revenue. We did the same for Philippines. We realized it's a big success. So this year, we're scaling it up to 7 markets in Asia. And we want to make this a norm and how we intervene to get additional exports. Mentorship, I believe, as an entrepreneur, I see some mentors here of mine. I believe mentorship is so important. You know why? Because you do not make the same mistakes they made. Mentorship cuts your access, your readiness to the marketplace by half. Mentorship gets you the funds you need. Mentorship allows you to revalidate your model. Mentorship allows you to relook at the business model over and over again. The marketplace is changing, it's very dynamic. If your business model doesn't change every 6 months, every 12 months, something is wrong. Mentorship corrects that. And so I'm fortunate because we've taken these mentors into Silicon Valley. They've come back where the mindset has changed. There's a lot of pay forward. We realized a lot of the mentors spend a lot of time with our younger entrepreneurs. Some have started investing in them. Some have partnered with them. And some are now acquired them. So this mentorship is so important to the ecosystem. And I'm happy to say that in the last 3 years, this has changed so much. Access to funds, right? So I was just saying that we now have a mindset change with the people who have money. 3, 4, 5 years ago, if you're a tech company, the first thing the VCs or the people who have the money ask you, what's your profit? What's your bottom line? But today that question goes away. They look at a forward-looking business model. And like I said, tomorrow we would have a huge event where we would see $5 billion worth of funding and for companies to pitch. I spoke briefly about the visibility, and visibility is probably the single biggest, in my opinion, single biggest platform MDEC can create to make sure these companies come out. Because entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. They know how to make it work. All they need is a platform. All they need is to be heard, right? And then they will know how to navigate. So the visibility initiative that you have done has seen more than 200 companies in the last 6 months being thrown out into the region to be visible. It could be in media, it could be in print, it could be key event speaking roles, right? Event speaking roles also brings out the visibility. It could be in TV interviews. And these were some of the platforms that we had created. Now, the other approach, the one approach that we did was the Titan and the Gain. And under the Titan, we realized that why is Silicon Valley so popular? What makes Silicon Valley tick? And we can never recreate Silicon Valley, right? So we recreated a microcosm of a Silicon Valley, and we called it a digital hub. A digital hub will consist of a private entrepreneur, would consist of a technology partner, would consist of funding, and then with that, would consist of a very nice space, and with that, we attract the startups. And so we came up with Digital Hub, and we have 5 digital hubs now operating in KL. And I understand they're running full. They've got about 200 startups in all the 5 digital hubs, and that's probably a funnel for some of our companies to go regional. The other thing that we've introduced is what we call MTAP, Malaysian Tech Entrepreneur Program. This is to attract entrepreneurs, would-be entrepreneurs, entrepreneurship into Malaysia. We want new talent. We want good-thinking entrepreneurs to come here, look at this ecosystem that we have here, look at our cost benefit that Malaysia is able to offer, look at the incentives they're able to offer, and come here and set up your business. So last year, we had more than 200 applications to be an entrepreneur, for this MTAP, and I think we've given out about 50 passes already. And these passes are for entrepreneurs, would-be and entrepreneurs to come here with unlimited restrictions on visa, come here, look at the ecosystem, plan your startup here, talk to the government authorities, talk to the incentives we gave you, and then we urge you to set up your business here. So I will show you a slide later on the companies that have re-domiciled under this program. This is the program. So what we have here are 2 pyramids where we have Malaysian startups and scale-ups that we are nurturing. We have 300 over companies in here. And we are hoping that the stages of valuation are growing. And we work with these companies. We work with all these companies to make sure that they have all the help they need. They have the 6 pillars that we are talking about. And on the right-hand side pillar is the companies that are coming in from overseas, what we call them re-domiciling companies. And we have companies that are re-domiciling, taking out their headquarters from elsewhere and bringing them into Malaysia, and they're growing their business here. This is actually a new strategy that's been in place for the last 1 to 2 years, and we're finding that a lot of companies are beginning to realize that Malaysia is probably the best place to grow your business, at least in ASEAN. Because as an entrepreneur, what is important? As a startup entrepreneur, what is important? Is to raise money at different stages. And how do you raise money? You need to create that revenue. You need to create the profit. You need to show your investors that you're going to be a very profitable business. And what constitutes your profit? Revenue and expenses. And we have proven a business model to say that we are at least 1/3 of our neighbors, or one of our neighbors. And we are able to break even much faster if you're located here. With everything else being equal, talent, access to money, visibility, a friendly government. So we're able to show, and now we're beginning to see a lot of companies re-domiciling into Malaysia. I think I'm asked to stop. These are some of the, I'll give you a flavor of the kind of companies that we look at the digital economy. We cut across banking and finance, big data, logistics, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, and content CCT. And these are some of the companies that we are now nurturing and to build them up to the next global icon. So very quickly, I just want to, I know time's up, but very quickly, I just want to give you a comparison to say that if you take the 150 GAIN companies that I spoke to you about, the scale-ups, and you look at their revenue at 2015, and we did an analysis of the revenue in 2017, those under the program grew 170%. The exports grew 47% compared to the normal CAG, right? So we know that this intervention that we're doing is very, very helpful. But there's one, I know a lot of them come up to us and say, how do I get selected? How do I get selected? It's a criteria-based model, and the very most important thing in that criteria, once you get your business model correct and your product correct, is the entrepreneur. Because you can have the right business model, you can have the right product, but if you have the wrong entrepreneur driving it, it is definitely not going to take off. All right. So one quick one, I just wanted to do a success story, was iFlix. I was fortunate enough 3 years ago to be one of the two cutting the ribbon at the iFlix office. Today, 3 years fast forward, they're in 38 countries, and it's a very fond client of ours, and they're growing. So I know Mark, CEO of iFlix, is next after me. Maybe I'll just throw him this challenge. Can iFlix be the next Malaysia's homegrown unicorn? Hopefully. Thank you.
A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. We say thank you to Gopi from MDEC.